So my question is, you said that you can work with 60 ministers, which is interesting. The number of DCs has increased from 110 to 261. And it appears when districts are created, the EC also increases the constituency. So now we have 275. Those are also arms of government that are expensive. Now, while this is happening, the AMA had 9 districts created out of it in 2018 to 2019. So we are increasing districts. We are creating new districts even in AMA, but AMA has only 3 sub-metros. So the ability to raise revenue is also lower. So it's a 2-in-1 question. Are we going to stop at 261 districts, 275 constituencies, cutting costs? And within that same question, the issue of AMA becoming only 3 sub-metros, they can't raise enough revenue. So it's difficult to manage the city. You've spoken about building a new capital. Does that mean Accra is a lost cause?
Increasing districts, that is part of the expenditure government has to bear. Bernnard, unfortunately, it is provided for in the Constitution. And unfortunately, it has been misused by governments. A lot of the time, the motivation for splitting districts is to create additional constituencies. And so you find that districts have been split and become unviable because they are too small and do not have economic opportunity to be able to be viable as a district. There are many districts today whose only source of income is District Assembly's Common Fund. And so unfortunately, that is what has happened. I remember when I was a deputy minister, the districts were under 100, about 90 districts or 70 districts or something like that. Today we have 261. And there's no scientific basis for the division except gerrymandering. Because there are districts that are bigger that should have been divided, that are not divided. But districts that are smaller that should have been left as they are have been split and created into smaller districts, because then the party that wins in that district can have 2 constituencies instead of 1. So that is the case. Several districts that existed, constituencies that existed have been converted into districts. So in looking at the review of the Constitution, we must set some more stringent guidelines for the creation of districts. You know that now every traditional area wants a district. And so we're getting to the stage where every paramount chief wants his traditional area to be a district. Because I go around and traditional paramount chiefs are requesting districts for their traditional areas. That's not what it was meant to be. But if you look in the Constitution, the creation of regions is specified, and you must go through a process that requires consensus building. Unfortunately, it's not the same with districts. With regions, you must have a commission of inquiry, and the commission of inquiry must recommend, and when it has recommended, it must go for a referendum. 40% of the people in that region must vote, and 75% of them must say yes. And so if we do the constitutional review, we probably must look at making more stringent the creation of more districts. Because if we say it's just based on population and land size, where are we going to stop? Ghana today is 33 million people. It is predicted that by 2050 or 2030 something, we'll be 50 million people. And so if you say population is the driver, then by the time we are 50 million people, we'll have 600 districts. And so that is a major issue, and I agree with you that we should look at that. But I think that there are more opportunities for improving funding to districts. And one of the things that has been forgotten is the issue of property rates. If we collect property rates properly, we can raise money to improve social services in the districts. And so even though AMA has been split up into other districts, I mean, just look at the houses in Accra. Just look at the properties in Accra. Bernnard, do you think that if these properties rates are collected properly, the districts will not have enough money to do the drains and do the roads and do everything? So one of the things we're going to do is to support the districts and enhance their capacity to collect their property rates. Because because District Assembly's Common Fund was introduced, property rates are not collected the way they should. My father died and left his house. One day I got a frantic call. Brad John, come. They've come to paste a notice that they're going to sell the house. So I go there and I look at the notice. It says, what do they call it? Distress something, and that if we haven't paid, and so we're supposed to be taken to court, you know. Meanwhile, I said, but where is the property rate bill? We hadn't received property rate bill for almost 5 years. And so they had put the address there of the place where we should go. So I went there and I said, oh, you want to sell my father's house? And I don't know, we haven't received any bills. And the man said, oh, your bills, which one is that? The Tesano, He said, the bills are here. You haven't come for your bills. Oh, I should come for my property rate bill. He says, your bills are here. Look, you haven't paid. Of course, I don't want them to sell my father's house. So I collected the bills and I wrote a check for them. And that ended the story. But I'm saying that we must support the assemblies to be able to give out the bills timeously and collect the money. And we must value those properties properly. I mean, some of those properties, if you charge 5,000 cedis a year, I mean, they'll be willing to pay because the value of the house is worth millions. And so that could be a new source of funding for district assemblies. Accra is getting difficult to manage because of its size and population. And so the city is spreading beyond its limits. It makes it difficult to continue to provide social services to the city. And so I propose that we look at establishing a new city so that we can move some of the agencies out of the city in order to reduce the pressure on Accra. Can you imagine if Nigeria had not built Abuja today? Lagos would have been in gridlock. You will not be able to even walk in Lagos because it would have been shut down. So I said we must start thinking about creating a new city and moving some of the agencies and departments out of the city. But of course, we must connect the two cities with good transportation networks so that people can go back and forth. And aside from that, it gives us an opportunity to plan that city better and ease the gridlock in Accra. It is not an immediate project. I said I envisage that it will take about 20 years to complete, but we must start somewhere. And that's why I said we'll start the feasibility and planning in the 4 years that I'm president. Other people will come and begin to implement. And we have the opportunity because the Volta Lake and the river are there. There will be access to clean water. We can make it a smart city where the services are provided. There will be no kiosk and containers littered all over the place. We will provide markets so that if you want to go to the market, there's a properly organized market and everything. There are supermarkets, there are schools, there are parks for recreation and all that. We can even make it a tourist center. We can create amusement parks so that families can go there and have amusement. We can have a water park. We have no water park in this country where you can go with your family and have a nice time. And so I've envisaged that if we start towards it, we might not live to see the end of it for some of us, but our children and our children's children will benefit from the establishment of a new city like that.